Hello, good sir.
What's up, Stu Grazier?
How's it going, buddy?
Going good, dude. Going good. No
How's
complaints.
summer? How's summer
Summer?
going so far?
Oh, it's amazing, man. I'm down in my basement instead of my office. Just made breakfast for the kids. Asked them to please not come to the basement, to be quiet, maybe go do something. Be productive humans until school starts in 2 months.
Like we were like 2 days into summer. I'm like,
Uh,
is it school time yet? Like, are we ready to go back to school yet?
yeah, yeah.
And
I actually,
do you
we
kids
go to
sleep
the,
in during the summer? Because mine do
yeah.
not.
My kids
Like,
sleep in. Oh yeah, my
dude,
kids sleep
my kids were up at like 6 a.m. this morning. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
in. Nope, nope. No,
Mm,
luckily my kids. Well, I have one preteen, Jake, who's sleeping. I have a teenager, my daughter, who actually she was up quote unquote early this morning. She got up at like 9
that
and
was
then
early.
oh, she can crush it, dude. Noah is yeah, I mean even Noah sleeps in. You know where Noah sleeps? We went camping this weekend. That dude in a tent, like I have to wake him up. Like it
Yeah.
starts getting like 9, 10 o'clock. You know, most people wake up like super early. Dude, I was up at like 3 o'clock and then like 5, and I was trying to just stay in the tent till 6. And that dude, like I had to wake him up. I'm like, hey bro, like we gotta everybody's up, they're waiting. He can crush it, which is interesting. But yeah, man, they
Nice.
sleep in and I saw a teacher at the pool. We have membership to a pool, and there was a teacher there, and I'm like, hey, is school starting back soon? And she's like, too soon, dude. Too soon, bro.
Too soon. I tell you what, we
Yeah.
um we put our kiddos in vacation Bible school at our church this week. Just started yesterday when we're recording this, and it's only like in the morning. It's like 9 to 12. So we came back, and Wells, my son, was like, dude, he was like a different human being. He like after lunch, he was like, Dad, can I mow the lawn today? And I was like, sure, yes. He's like, all right, cool. And they like went and mowed the lawn by himself, like on his own. Came back and like played on his own, like hung out, like anything I asked him to do, he was like, "Okay, sure, Dad." I was like, "What has happened to this kid?" Like
That's hilarious.
one day of vacation Bible school and the Holy Spirit like has filled him and he's just like a different human being. And so like, this is amazing. We should do this every day.
Yeah. Huh. No.
We'll see what happens today.
VBS, man. Gotta get my kids VBS.
Gotta do it, man. Gotta do it. Yeah. My daughter
Yeah,
came
man.
home and had a verse memorized. I was like, this is sweet. Nice work.
It's good stuff, dude. It's good
Yeah.
stuff. It's good stuff. Well, and I think it's interesting summer, there's transitions of the seasons and we're kind of in a transition phase as well in a different areas. Um, Professionally, we're looking at different things, personally, spiritually as we continue to grow. I'll tell you, it's been really interesting to, I think over the last, probably this last year, just really leaning into spiritual growth from the perspective of taking everything to Jesus, right? Like we're considering some moves in real estate. And this morning, just not only did you bring an idea that you had come up with after your quiet time and spending time with Jesus, but you gave me that gift to be able to take it into my quiet time and really dive into specifics around everything, right? Partnerships, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, where our time goes, and even not necessarily that black and white of do or don't do, but also the gray areas of if we do this, what should it look like, and what does it look like to glorify God? And I've been pursuing this C12 journey where it's been really interesting to the you know the I mean the whole intent behind C12 is to help Christian business owners and CEOs to integrate those aspects of life, right? To integrate their business, which is super important and we love doing, and to integrate their faith because that's supposed to be the most important thing in our life. And how do you do those things? And as I've dove into that, and we've talked through where we're at, it's really been interesting to introduce Jesus in that conversation and be like, okay, where should we really, you know, uh, where should our time be spent? Where do we spend our time and where should we spend our time? And I think it's just it's interesting where we've kind of come to that place. And as we're recording, just what. what that looks like, at least in the short term, what we desire to look for in the long term. And I think the not that I'm super focused on my execution because I still have a lot of growth there, but at least super focused in, hey God, we want to seek you in all of these things. Most importantly, so that we can live in a way that glorifies you.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you, just this year, I was really intentional about wanting to focus and like spend like a lot of time each morning, just in quiet solitude and prayer and journaling and reading the Bible and devotionals. And, we've mentioned this before, like in years past, we kind of like tried to like race through the Bible in a year and, just kind of checklist off things. And then this year, we both separately had said like, hey, we're gonna dive deep, right? We're gonna go like deep into scripture, like read like one book at a time, one chapter at a time, journal on that, and like spend time in it. And that's been really, really profound for my spiritual growth this year. And interestingly, I feel like I've gotten a lot of clarity, with yet still a lot of unknown things in my life, that I'm kind of waiting on God for. But it's really cool to kind of see how things come to fruition as you just spend time, and maybe it's just a simple like you read a verse and then you just write on it and just like write about like what's on your mind, what's on your heart, or you ask yourself a question and then just sit in that for a while and like just wait for like things to come to your mind and then write stuff out. And um, one thing practically that you and I did just recently, which I think was really helpful for the two of us, we have a lot of stuff going on. Like we have podcasts and TKM Mastermind and multiple real estate business. We have managing portfolios of stuff. We have a fund that we raise money and lend to. We have commercial real estate deals, like mobile home park syndications, like lots of different things, and these all pull us in different directions,
You're
right?
stressing me out by just
Dude,
naming.
yeah, and that's just us combined, right? And then you have your own stuff, you have your own properties, you have your own, career, new focus in C12. I have our own properties. I have a, RV park in Texas that's like sucking the life out of me, right? And like there's like all these things. Then we have kids and school and church and family and like, dude, it's bonkers. It's kind of cuckoo's bananas. And so
Cuckoo's
I've
bananas.
cuckoo's bananas. Yeah, our kids
Uh,
jiu-jitsu
love it.
coach says that all the time, so I've started using that a lot. Um, but so taking all that, practically what you and I did just recently was no kidding, basically make a list of every single thing that we did, starting with, our combined endeavors, and not even necessarily businesses, but the things we do on a regular basis, the podcast and TKM Mastermind calls weekly, all of our businesses, and like list all those out, and then again like make three columns, and one is income producing, and just rate it 0 to 10 scale. Where does it produce income? Another column, fulfillment and purpose. Rate it 0 to 10, right? And then the last column is time spent, and like rate that 0 to 10, 10 being a ton of time spent, zero being no time spent. And so we did that individually. Like you did yours on your own, I did mine on my own. And then we kind of came together and compared them. And actually, I never sent mine to you, did I? I need to send mine to you.
You didn't know.
Um, but it's similar to yours, interestingly enough. But um, you look at that stuff and you see like what you're spending time on, and is that time spent quality time going towards either income producing activities or purpose fulfillment activities? And it kind of opens your eyes to some stuff that might be worth either like reducing or completely taken away. So it was a really cool exercise for me to kind of visually see things, practically speaking.
Yeah. Well, and going through that, I mean, we should all practice as we preach, right? In TKM, we talk about, our wheel and the circle, the Connect Life circle, and we talk about where our time is going, and we talk about all these things. And I just talk. I think I actually wrote in my journal this morning, like talk is cheap. It's like it's the cheapest, dude. It doesn't mean anything. And action is what drives the fruit of the spirit are fruits that are seen. It's not things that are just words that we talk about. And so, when as you were talking, one of the things that hit me, well, two things hit me. One, we should be taking massive action to assess things and constantly refine and constantly look at and have a framework. Ours was it was a simple framework that you basically created a spreadsheet. As we talked about it, we talked about, hey, we need a framework to measure these things. How should we measure them? How should we categorize them? And that's what we came up with, right? And went into it and did that. I think when you and I analyze our partnerships, when you and I before we did any deals, did we went deep into a framework to analyze it. When we have not done that, the partnerships have not been like your and my partnership has been very fruitful, and I've loved it, and I want to continue doing things. But now I look at things and I'm like, man, we should be running all partnerships through a framework to come to a decision. We should be running all our businesses and all these things that we do through a framework. And things can be good. And that is, something that's been on my mind a bunch is pruning. Like there can be, pruning is super easy if you're cutting off dead branches, but that's not what pruning is. True pruning is cutting off live fruit. You're just cutting off the small fruit so that the resources don't go to the small fruit and they're redirected towards the big fruit. And in that process can be painful, it can be hard, but I think it's necessary. And also the reward of that of the fruit that gets nourished the end in the end that makes it all worth it, right? But the you know the that small fruit, it's alive, it's growing, and to cut that off, that could be painful. It could be hard because it's not dead. It's not brown. It's actually it's good. It's just not great or the best. And so I think that that's something that we really need to look at. And then two, as you were mentioning all these things, I would say if we're having this conversation 3 years ago, we'd probably pat ourselves on the back and be like, "Oh, we got this business, and this number of properties, this, that, we probably pat ourselves on the back." And now I look at it and I'm like, man, that is not the rhythm that Jesus ascribed to, and that's not the rhythm that Jesus wants me to maintain. And I have become way more just fulfilled and loving of my time, and like my time in the morning with God has just grown exponentially. And to your point, it's becoming more and more a time that I like. It just feeds me, and now it's now beyond an hour, right? Like it's going into an hour and a half. And I look for the day that's a 2 3 hour endeavor. Is that I'm up and I'm just with Jesus, because the clarity that comes from that and all the benefits from that are way more than any number of businesses or any number of busyness could really give or feed. And I just don't think I've just changed the way I look at this stuff, right? Like as you're mentioning all that stuff, I'm almost like, man, how do I continue to refine that to get the time that I believe God wants me to spend on the things that are most important? And have I even defined what those things are, right? And so and time with him, it's shocking to me the number of people especially in the church and my our Christian circles that are like, man, I want to see God's blessing in this and that and the other, and I'm doing all these things, and oftentimes I'll just ask, and I'm not saying this out of judgment or that I'm great at it, but I'm spending more time, but I'll just ask like, hey, what's your morning routine, or what does your routine with Jesus look like? And oftentimes it's like, you haven't been in the Word for a while, I haven't really prayed for a while, and I'm like, oh well, okay, how do you expect to hear from God? Like what kind of blessings are the blessings you're receiving commensurate with the time you're giving to Jesus? And it's just a real question, right? And it's not that God's a genie that you're like, oh, I give you an hour, you give me 100K, right? It's like that. Those are not that's what I'm saying or suggesting. What I'm saying is you should expect very, very little in the form of divine blessing and appointment if you don't make any time for Jesus. And so that's where I really want to be is, okay, how am I giving that time to Jesus, my family, and quite frankly, pruning off some businesses to give time to the business that I think is my calling, right? And where we should be. And so I just think that there's a an intentionality behind that and to the point of creating a framework. And why all this matters for us is, we should probably start it with this, but we're going to take the summer off of the podcast. Like that's one of the things we've decided, and it's not because it's not good, and it's not because we don't love it. And we may come back to it, we may not. We're in conversations around that, but it's also okay. How do we best serve the people that give us an hour of their time currently doing that? Or does there have to be a reassessment that makes it most beneficial for those that we want to serve, and also that it's a time investment that's well spent for us, right? And so there's just, everything needs to be on the table when you do these kind of assessments. Everything. There's nothing sacred. There's nothing that should not be discussed. Because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you refine it? Why wouldn't you want to put all that stuff out there to give yourself a really good shot at being like, okay, these things are priorities, and this is why, and these are not, and this is why. And so, how do I act accordingly?
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like we were both getting to this place, just with the podcast, which you and I absolutely love. Like, we've both said that, hey, this is the one thing that you and I truly love doing together. It just brings a lot of joy. We have amazing conversations with great people, and we just really enjoy it. And that's still the case. But I think both of us found ourselves in this place of feeling this pressure, right? The pressure of booking great guests, the pressure of being prepared for the conversation, reading the book ahead of time, doing our research and due diligence, always being ahead of schedule. Like there's a lot to just the podcast, right? Beyond just scheduling and the conversation, just having the conversation, doing the recording. So I think we were both in a season of like feeling pressure and a little bit of anxiety towards getting the next guest, preparing, reading the book, like staying up late and like reading chapters of the book the night before a podcast just because, we want to feel like we can have like a good conversation with our guests, right? And um and for what? Right? If you really think about it, like why were we putting this pressure on ourselves, this anxiety that was coming from these things, and it wasn't healthy. And so I think taking a look at this stuff and really sitting in it and praying on it and hearing like what's the priority, and then taking the action, and being courageous about it, and pruning some of that stuff. Again, it wasn't dead, it's good, but is it the best right now? I don't know.
Well, and dude, just being completely honest and vulnerable. One of the things that these things, when we talk about these things, you have to be honest. Like if you're not starting from a place of honesty and vulnerability, then you might as well not even do the exercise. You might as well not even do it because you're not gonna come out what is a crap in, crap out, right? And so one of the conversations you and I had was, okay, what is let's name all the reasons why we're doing the podcast. And it wasn't a primary reason, but we had to also be honest with the around the idea of how it made us feel to get really good authors, or the pursuit of people who we esteemed or thought were whatever. And one of the questions in a lot of these folks, like that, they'll ask you, they'll send you a questionnaire, right? And they'll be like, all right, how many followers do you have on Instagram? Blah, blah, blah. Like they want to understand your your level of
Influence.
influence
Yeah.
from their from, and I
Like,
don't say their perspective like they're bad, but
is it
just
good for
from
me?
the,
Like, what's in it for me
is it
kind of
good for
thing.
me, right? How
Yeah.
many people, and we had to say, hey, is that important to me? Is it important to me that we get somebody on that has a million followers, whatever, all these social media things that I already despise. But we started talking about that. And I'm like, huh, that's fascinating. Like I'm actually, part of my calculus is to be intrigued by a platform and a mechanism. I don't think it's bad. I just despise it. But I don't even like it. I don't even value it. And I wouldn't even see like if they're on Instagram and that our stuff goes on Instagram, like I would literally never see it. And so it's just like, huh, that's something to, and how does it make me feel to get some big author? Like I feel special and important, right?
Well,
And so
and interestingly, the big author rarely rarely shared our stuff
yeah,
anyways, and or
right.
like had a like bigger listener rate.
Yeah, and I think, and again, it's not so much, you know, we recognize a platform is something to serve others. And so we, the ideal is to be like, yeah, if you don't share whatever, we're just here to support you and thank you for coming on. But the reality of that too is like you just have to be honest and assess and be like, okay, is there really like, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to build a relationship? We trying to add value in which ways? And like, is this mechanism even a path for that? The TKM where we had to look at like the virtual calls that we do every week and the prep for that and all that and take that into consideration as well. And weigh, okay, do I desire to do that? Or is there a more profound impact and meaning for me just to take that same amount of time and just meet with one dude locally over a cup of coffee, a bike ride, or whatever? What am I trying to do? And like for me, I'm not speaking for both of us or you, but for me, the relational aspect is really, really, really important. And I want to be spending my time building relationships. The podcast doesn't typically a guest who comes in and talks about their book, like usually that doesn't result in. I mean, we have like a couple examples, like John David Mann, who are like, I really like John David Mann. We'll occasionally keep in touch. I'll hit up uh, Anna Mann on LinkedIn. We've been chatting, and so there are certain people, but that's one in like whatever, however many, 100 authors, 200 authors. I don't even know how many we've had, but the point being, where do you want to invest your time and why? And if it's relationally, okay, what are you doing and how does that look? And am I accomplishing that in all the ways that I'm doing that thing, podcast or even virtual calls with men around the globe? Or is it, hey, let's go spend some time on a hike and really dive deep? Nobody's ever going to know that. That's never going to be
You're not
that's not
gonna
going to gain any
you're not gonna do a
guests,
selfie and put that on Instagram, the
followers.
Instas.
Yeah, I might do that. I might do the Instas or a TikTok. But but at the end of the day, that investment, man, that there's significance in that, right? And we just have to measure, and not only measure it, but but how am I gifted? How's God blessed me? And what are the ways that I can be most effective for him and for his kingdom if that's truly of importance to me?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think summer's a pretty good time for this, right? Just in general, I think summer, kids are out of school, they're you know at home, they're sleeping in or getting up early, and there's opportunity to spend time with them, and that's something that they truly desire. Like we've talked about, like, man, they only have 18 summers, right? You only have 18 summers with your kids, and um, like take advantage of that. And so what what is the priority? What You only have so much time in the day. You only have so much time with your kids. And are you living each day in chaos and anxiety and pressure of like trying to do all the stuff and things, or maybe it is time to like take a break and do some pruning and figure out where those priorities are and be a little bit vulnerable and honest with yourself. And one thing that we did was I got new fishing poles for both my kids, and I, no kidding, like am tracking. I started like a little bit like an internal tracker of like how many days per week I'm taking the kiddos down to go fishing. Like maybe it's like a dad KPI of just like how many hours, how many things, how many times you say yes. Like what are you doing with your kids over the chaos of, you know, all the different businesses, all the different things, all the different, opportunities, whatever that is. Maybe it's time to prune a little bit and maybe like shift the priority a little bit and put some more focus and maybe take a pause, maybe take a break.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, man, again, it's need to. I'm not saying that growing your business. I'm a big believer in growing your business.
For sure.
But I'm a big believer in growing it with a strategy and understanding what you're trying to do. And if you're, if the growth of your business is growing your job, then I'm not an advocate, right? So there's a
Yeah.
guy that I reached out to recently, and I would say for, uh, and I'm sorry for sniffing on the podcast and coughing. I cannot shake this thing. But there's a dude, I'd say for 2 years. We've been in a relationship for probably, four or five. But very intentionally talking through like his schedule for probably 2 years. And nothing has changed. And I just recently hit him up again. I haven't seen him for a while. I haven't heard from him. And the answer is always, and I already know what the response is going to be. I'm like, hey man, how's it going? Miss you, love you, whatever. And it's always the same. Man, super crazy, just super crazy busy. And
Busy.
and dude, I
That's
could
the
be
word.
talking about
Busy. I'm busy.
like 25 people, right? Like right now.
Yeah.
But this
I know exactly
specific
who you're talking about too.
individual, yeah, this specific individual though, has expressed a desire for something different. But I'm also to the point where I'm like, I don't believe you. Like I just don't believe you. And I'm not hating. I don't care. It's not my life. I mean, I care because I love this individual, but I don't care in the sense of I'm not judging, nor am I going to be like, oh, you need to change. Do what you want to do. Just go in it eyes wide open with the consequences to you and your family, and then make your decision, right? And not only your business and your, or I'm sorry, your family, but also like, what are you trying to achieve? And if you don't know that, then you're just going in every single day and you're driving for quote unquote growth. But what, at what expense? What is not growing? And what do you desire that grows? And are you doing anything for that and towards that? Because there's also this quality of life thing. And I'll tell you, man, we're all going to, there's going to come a time for all of us, whether it's marked by our kids leaving the house or our business hitting a goal number that we have or not hitting it, whatever. There's going to be a time where we're going to step back and we're going to pause and we're going to have to answer the question, was it worth it? And my goal is that the answer is always yes. But it's not because I get to that place and and then step back and say yes. It's because I'm stepping back every year, multiple times a year, saying, and this is a great time of year right now. We're in June, second quarter is wrapping up. We're halfway into the year, and it's a great time to assess and be like, okay, I'm halfway into the year. Where am I from the goals I set or whatever, however you do it, from the metrics that I created? Where am I in my strategic plan for 2025? Am I ahead or behind in all the areas? Did I even make a strategic plan? Did I even consider the personal side of my strategic plan? Did I do any of those things? Where am I with my fitness, my time with God, all these things? And to really assess and be like, okay, I'm on track. I'm not. Here's why. But as you do those things, it's critical that you're constantly assessing and you have a framework around it, ideally, that you can actually say, yeah, man, I fast forward 5 years from now, and dude, I will be on track and I'll be completely content with where I'm at. Most people I know hit that point and they look back and they're just like, man, that wasn't really worth it. Oh, I hit this number, I hit this magic business number. That wasn't really worth it. Like, why did I do that? What do I have to show for that? And that's what I want to avoid with, with through all these efforts. I really want to avoid being in that place. And that's when you name all these things. I'm actually getting excited about the things that you and I have talked about strategically to start cutting. And what I also recognize is when we cut and we get to a place of simplicity in that, then you and I can scale in areas that we want to scale for a reason that we have to scale, if we even choose to scale, right? And what that even means, what that looks like. But our goals are just different.
Yeah, man. I this came to mind this morning in my quiet time as I was reading, and I had recalled a podcast that I listened to. It was a John Mark Comer podcast, but it was actually Tyler Stanton who took over for Bridgeport Church in Oregon, and he was talking about he was actually talking about pruning and the fig tree. And he said this line that like really struck me, and I posted on it today on LinkedIn. And he said, "How much time are we spending in wanting, seeking, and acquiring? How much time do we sit in wanting things, spending, seeking, acquiring?" And I thought to myself, man, I do a lot of that. I do a lot of wanting, seeking, acquiring more. And I asked myself, like, is that going to ever stop? Like, well, when will I get to a place when I don't want more, when I'm not trying to seek and acquire and want? Will there ever be that time period? I don't know the answer to it, unfortunately. Maybe there's not. I don't know. But it was an interesting thought process and an exercise of like, man, how much do I just spend thinking about what I don't have versus what I do have already?
Well, and what's fascinating is the world, specifically our Western American culture. People probably have an allergic reaction to you saying like, "Well, yeah, I don't know that I want more," and I think it's because we think of it wrongly,
Yeah,
and oftentimes less material stuff equals more capacity, more time, more joy, less worry, right? Like we think of things, and the way we tend to frame it is, well, but if I do make more money, I have more, then the stress of those things will also go away because I've just made more money to take care of it. It just doesn't work that way because one, you're not asking the question of, am I content? And what does biblical contentment mean? And are my wants and desires contradictory to achieving that, right? Like, it's just a
yeah,
fascinating way that we're so wrapped in the material side of more, and it's a human condition. But I think we can, not I think, like we can absolutely be different, and we can look at things different and grow in that. And it's just a fascinating, even as you were saying that, my very initial reaction was like, oh, like that's weird to not want more. But then I was like, that's so fascinating that that's where my mind immediately went because I don't want more crap. And quite frankly, I just want to start getting rid of debt and things because I know, man, if my house is paid off, and all real estate investors off, you're not leveraged, just blah, 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 whatever. Yep, get it. If all our real estate properties are paid off, if my house is paid off, I don't have any car payment. Like you can't even measure the amount of just relief and carefree that that brings, right? And
yeah,
the a way
totally.
you can bless people. Like I want to be in a place where you and I have our portfolio paid off, and every Christmas, all our tenants know they don't pay rent that month.
Mm,
Like, how cool would that be to bless some folks and be like, hey, Merry Christmas. You don't have to pay rent this month. God bless you. And it's so different. It's radical, right? They'll be like, why are you guys doing? And dude, you think we'll ever lose a tenant? Like they will be sad to leave.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
there's going to be people that think they believe they deserve all this, whatever. But the cynicism aside, um, you can bless people in a different way and still make, I mean, dude, if our portfolios had no debt, like you're not really concerned about 1 month of rent across your
Yeah,
portfolio, right? And so I guess the point is just, we just are I think we measure and look at these things just wrongly. And I heard that this was kind of related. I was prepping for my forum this week, and yesterday I came across this question somebody asked. They said, if you look at the last 2 weeks of your prayers, and every prayer, God granted every prayer that you prayed, would the world be a different place as a result of your prayers, or would you just be a lot more comfortable? And I was like, oh,
oh dang,
that's a good question.
that is a good question.
That's a good question. I was like that.
Did you come up with that on your own, or did you get that read that somewhere?
No, no. That was a someone was. I was watching a like a prep video, and
Gotcha.
that was. I don't remember the source of that. It was from a book, I think, from
Hmm.
somebody. I don't remember the source document, but this individual noted that, and I was like, "That's good and convicting, right? Like, are all my prayers, to your point, do I live
Totally.
in want? Are all my prayers focused on me, me, me? How do I? Or am I praying actively for people and believing in the power of prayer so much so that I'm using that, wielding that weapon to others' benefits?
Dude, I'm reading a book. It's called The Book of Joy, written by the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa, and then I guess kind of ghost written by another gentleman. And so it's a Buddhist monk, a Christian, and then the writer is Jewish. So like three completely separate, belief systems, and they're writing this book on joy. And to your point, you're talking about the morning routine and like spending, an hour plus. Dude, Dalai Lama spends 5 hours. He wakes up at 3 a.m. and he spends 5 hours in meditation and prayer. Archbishop said he only does four. He only does 4 hours every
He
morning,
only gets four in.
and he wakes up between 4 and 5. Um, but like if you look at those people's lives, and I don't know a ton about their lives, but like just reading through this book, like Dalai Lama was exiled from his country, hasn't been allowed to go back into Tibet and has to live in India. He's been exiled for like 40 years and like tons of like hate and uh stuff against him. But like he's one of the most joyous people out there. Archbishop, South Africa, like fighting against apartheid, like he's had a ton of bad stuff happen to him in the past and like has gone through periods of like health issues and um, tons of stuff going wrong against him. And like these two people just have this look on life of being joyous in, you know, some really hard times. And they actually said most people in the world they think and try to find joy through external things. But really joy comes from your internal heart, from your mind and your soul. And so like how are we doing that? How are we putting in time? How are we pruning? How are we being real with ourselves and looking for joy internally versus wanting, desiring, acquiring all the external stuff that we think is going to bring us joy, but it never will.
Well, yeah, man, it reminds me of the joy, the fruits of the spirit, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
the Bible talks about the fruits of the spirit, when it talks about fruit in general, the fruit is an outpouring from us. It's not, I mean, God gives us he gives us things. He gives us, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. But most of those things are, I mean, when we talk about the fruits of the spirit, they are traits. They're my traits as a result of the Holy Spirit indwelling in me, right? So love, it's not that I'm loved because I know I'm loved, but it's the love that I have in me to give, right? The joy, like you're just talking about, love, joy, peace, the peace that I feel in the presence of Jesus is something that's is new for me, that's been amazing, life changing. Love, joy, peace, patience, right? Patience is not other people being patient
Still
with
working on
me.
that one.
It's me, the patience that comes out of me, right? I always have to do love, joy, peace, patience. It's like the alphabet. I have to start over again. A, B, C, D. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. These are all the fruits that the Bible talks about, and they're all an outpouring, a gift that I get to, I receive, but it comes from me, right?
Yeah, it's internal.
And yeah, it's internal to me, and it's what I can offer others as well. And so I think that we just mistake, dude. You're never gonna get with the. Trust me, I had to buy a new car because my other car completely just failed, and it doesn't. While fun and it equips us to do stuff with the family, it's not ever gonna be the source of. It's gonna also decay. It's gonna break. It's gonna rot. If that's where I'm putting those things. I'm hoping to get those things from a car. And it sounds silly to say that, but that's what we do every day. We run our credit card and buy more stuff because that's the joy I'm going to get. I believe I'm going to get joy from all that stuff. And the most fascinating thing about it is somebody's going to remember you by the love that they feel from you, by the joy they feel from you, right? Like that's going to make an impact. That's going to make an impact for Christ. Nobody gives a rip about the car that you're driving and you in it. They're putting themselves in it anyways. They're picturing themselves in your car if they like it. They don't, nobody cares about that stuff. Yet we care so much about it and we try so hard to acquire it. And it's like, dude, stop wasting your time. And where this, this is kind of a rabbit hole, but to come back full circle, it's not just possessions, it's time. Where's my time going? And none of these things are bad. A car is good. It helps us. It's going to take us camping this weekend. It's going to enable family time. We're going to go out into the mountains. It's going to be great. But it's not. It's not that it's bad. It's just how are we looking at these things? How we frame it? And time so limited. You really need to assess these areas of life and be like, man, is it really that cool to be that busy all the time? Like that stress. Like, is that really awesome? Even though people are patting me on the back, dude, you're crushing it. Like now I look at it and I'm like, dude, I admire people like Dalai Lama and the pastors and
Archbishop.
the people
Yeah.
that are so dedicated. I mean, and also it's interesting when you look at people like Warren Buffett and just in that world of business and the people that are highly, highly successful, what do most of them do? They spend their time reading. They spend their time in just contemplating, strategizing, but like more, it's not just this constant grind and go, go, go. It's a sustainable, peaceful um, battle rhythm, right? Peaceful battle rhythm. Yeah, there's a dichotomy there.
There is.
But I think, to wrap it up, I just think we need to be more intentional with assessing our time and adding, not adding, we're not adding, taking note of the value that the things that we do, what they truly bring, and why we do it. And a lot of it is, I'll be honest, a lot of it I think is for the praise of man is a big part of it. But at the end of
100%.
the day, they're praising the things they see. They're not praising the divorce and the estrangement from children and all the things that potentially, or your lack of time with God. And so you really have to measure like, do I really care what these people think? And where's my time best spent, especially as a Christian? How am I advancing the kingdom of God through my daily activities? Or am I advancing the kingdom of God? And is that important to me? What do you do about it?
Yeah, man. So what's the point of all this? For the podcasts, at least, we're gonna take a break over the summer of new recordings. So the plan is to kind of do like a greatest hits over the summer. We're gonna go back and look at some of the oldies but goodies and kind of see, like rerun those for the Monday episodes, and then we still have a bunch of recordings of the leveling up with TKM. So those will continue to go through on the Friday episodes. And then we're just going to reassess. We're going to reassess how we feel, how we do over at the end of the summer, whether we want to start recording again. Maybe it looks a little bit different. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's different types of guests. And we'll just kind of see where it goes. But yeah, we're just gonna take a pause on the podcast, do some greatest hits over the summer, and then we'll reassess when kids are back in school and fall sessions back in play. And I'd like to challenge all the listeners to maybe do the same. Like, no kidding. And maybe it is like break out a spreadsheet, like create, write down everything you do, right? And then just, for us, it was, does it create income? Rank it 0 to 10. Does it bring purpose and fulfillment? Rank it 0 to 10. And then rank it. How much time are you spending on it? And if you're spending a ton of time on something and there's little purpose fulfillment and or little income being created, maybe it's time to cut off that branch.
Amen.
Amen.
So on that note, you do take a lot of my time. You definitely don't contribute to my bank account. And so I'm also needing to find a new best friend.
Is this how you're gonna do it? This.
Public breakup. This is the best way to do it.
Okay. All right.
Just kidding. I love you so much. I love you so much.
I
And
love
I
you that
thank God
much.
you're my best friend.
We do need to get like on some mountain bikes like real soon because I'm kind of itching for that. Even though it's
Let's
probably gonna
go.
be a little, I'm a little be a little hesitant since I haven't really done some real ones since breaking the old collarbone. But we'll
Yeah.
get back at
We'll
it.
start at Bear Creek. We'll get some Bear Creek going.
Okay,
It'll be
sounds good.
good. And on the river, fly fishing.
Mm,
Fly fishing. Let's
that's good.
go. We need to invest in the things that we're going to be doing in eternity, which I will be fly fishing in heaven.
Yeah,
I have
you
no
think that's
doubts.
up there? You think there's some fly fishing in heaven?
1,000%. 1,000%.
That sounds
Guaranteed.
good. All right. Love you, homie.
See ya. Love you.
Peace.
Peace.